So, Mr. Greely, as we get started, don't mind just saying and spelling your name in total for me so I just have that down correctly?
Okay. You want me, just
Spell
say
it
it?
out for me, yeah.
Spell it, William, period, Greely, Greely.
You want us to refer you as William Greely or
Bill,
Bill?
yeah.
Okay. And what was your position with Keeneland?
I'm retired now. I was president and CEO.
From what years?
1986 to 2000.
All right. So why don't you just take me back to the beginning and just I'll let you sort of take the reins, so to speak. Walk me through, whenever you first met Queen Elizabeth II and how that relationship formed and continued from there.
We have an agent in England that helps us with our racing and sales. And at the time it was David Hedges, and David Hedges kind of made an inquiry to Her Majesty's group to see if she would be interested in visiting Keeneland. And she agreed. She, as you know, she loves horse racing. And she agreed, and we created a stake race for 3-year-old fillies in her honor. We named it the Queen Elizabeth Cup. And the first running, we had just built the turf course, and the first running was run on the dirt. And they don't race on the dirt in England. And she and I were standing at the window, and when the race was over, she turned to me and she said, "I would appreciate it if you would put this race named in my honor on your turf course next year." And of course that was our intention initially, but I told her yes, that she could count on that. We were going to put that on there. And it's one of the first races that I know of that went from a non-graded race to a grade 1 basically overnight. Not just because it was named in her honor, but because it attracted the best 3-year-old fillies at that time in the year. So it was, there was a lot accomplished from both sides on her coming and visiting us at Keeneland. And she's a charming woman. She really is. She'll be missed by this whole world. She really will. She was very astute. She was a kind person, and she knew her position, and she would try to put you at ease. She knew everybody was a little nervous around her, and we all were, but you try to hide that. But she was a very gracious lady.
And that all started in 1984. Right?
Yes.
And so in the years since, tell me a bit more about, y'all were invited to England, invited to I'm not quite sure.
We would go to, my wife and I, Norma, would go to the royal meeting at Ascot every year. And when we would go, she would have us invited in to join her for tea in the royal enclosure at the royal meeting at Ascot. And we did that for 14 years in a row. And Norma and I would sit at the table with Her Majesty and Prince Philip, and she always wanted to know just all the details about the race named in her honor, because she was horse crazy. She really was, and she loved her horses. And I'd give her a whole rundown on the thing and tell her what countries the horses had come from, because we tried to make it international because of her. And we'd have horses from England and Ireland and Germany and different countries come for it. So it was a very, very good race right from the start.
Tell me more about that passion that she showed for horse racing. It's one of those unique traits of her personality that a lot of people kind of know about, and I think maybe some folks would even find a little bit surprising to know about the royal.
I think this goes back to when she was a very young person. they had, they had the different estates and had horses on it, and she loved riding horses, and she got her own horses and had a very good stable of horses. We had a couple of her horses race here at Keeneland over the years, and it was really enjoyable to see the jockey with her racing silks on, whether the horse won or not. It was just kind of a compliment to the United States and to Keeneland to have her race a horse in this country every so often.
When was the last time that y'all had the chance to see each other?
Oh, I think it was about 1999, right before I retired. We went to Royal Ascot, and the interesting thing is you had to apply to the U.S. Embassy in England to get an invitation to be allowed into the royal enclosure, because it was very tight security, and you had the buttons and all that. But I mean, it was a real honor for us to be allowed in the royal enclosure and to be invited with her on the days that we would attend the races there and have tea with Her Majesty. They stopped the racing for about 45 minutes at 3 o'clock. That's their tea time. And you'd go in and sit down and have tea and conversations. And there'd be probably, I don't know, maybe 150, 200 people in the room, in the royal enclosure for tea. So, I mean, we felt very honored. We really did. I can't emphasize that enough, on how honored we were that she would know we were coming and would extend the invitation to join her on that day of racing.
Something I've always found really humanizes people is their sense of humor. Is there anything about the Queen's, just sense of humor or just jovialness that stuck with you that you may have a unique memory of?
No, not really. I mean, we were all very,
The tie.
oh, well, you can cut that.
It's not direct take to tape.
Okay.
So
We were having tea with her. Well, Norma ran the gift shop at Keeneland, and she had a scarf designed by Hermes, and she also had a Keeneland club scarf, tie, men's tie, designed. And she sent the Queen the scarf. I sent Prince Philip the tie, and so we're having tea with them during the races. This is in June, and we had sent it to him for Christmas. And I looked over at Norma, and Norma's going, and he had the club tie on. I mean, it was just kind of crazy. And I leaned over to the Queen. I said, "Ma'am," I said, "I can't begin to tell you how honored I am that your husband would choose to wear the Keeneland club tie that we sent him for Christmas on the day that we're here." And she said, "Philip," he looked up and she said, "Is that the Keeneland club tie?" He said, "Yes, it is." He said, "And I really like this tie. It's a good tie." So that was probably the extent of the humor that we had in her presence. But I mean, just sitting there having tea with her and discussing horses, she was very down to earth, and she wanted to know all about what was going on in racing at Keeneland and in the United States.
Is that tie memory going to be one of the big standouts for you, or is there any others that is truly, whenever you think back on Queen Elizabeth, is going to be the one that comes to mind?
I think that, and her turning to me and saying that she'd like to have the race named in her honor on the turf course. I mean, it showed that she was paying attention, but she wanted to let us know that what her preferences were, which is fine. I didn't have a problem with that at all.
And probably the easiest question of it all, you going to miss her?
Oh, not only will Norma and I miss her, but everybody in the world that had any connections with that woman at all will miss her. I mean, she was just so astute in so many different areas if you've watched the Crown series, you can see that I mean, she was a very, very strong woman, and I think she probably did more to advance women in this country and in Great Britain and all their colonies than anybody. I mean, she was just an amazing person. She really was, and we're very privileged to have had the time to spend with her.